Commercial Construction Coffee Talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David, of course, and I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. This is what it used to look like. Yeah, we're all digital now, but man, it used to look great when it was in print. Anyway, I hope everybody's starting the new year off. This is one of my first episodes of the year. Got a new background. Hopefully, you know, looking this way. You like my signs. And got my lax sticks from my college days on the green turf. But actually, it was grass back then. It was like concrete. But now they got a stadium and everything else. So out of DU. But anyway, I hope everybody had a great holiday season. You know, recharged your batteries, had some time with family. Obviously, probably had to watch some football. And, you know, congratulations to the Georgia Bulldogs. You know, look, 15-0. Repeat. Listen, getting into the playoffs, I don't care what sport you're in, but then repeating is a pretty cool, it's a pretty tough gig to do. So, you know, hats off to them. They beat a lot of good teams, you know, in D1 football, D1 college hockey, whatever it might be. You know, it always comes down to a couple plays, and all the teams are equal, you know, and any given day, one team could beat another. So, you know, TCU, they had a great season. You know, congrats to them too for making it to the championship game. And you know, the future is bright for you know, both of those programs. You know, they're both going to have to reload. So a lot of players are going to go back. You know, probably go in the NFL, try to make the roster. But all in all, exciting season. You know, and you know, now it's lacrosse season for me. We start. DU gets on the green lawn, let's see, probably the beginning of February. Our hockey team's number 4 in the country, and you know, we're looking to keep momentum and getting into league play, and you know, start getting ready for the league championship, and then get into the NCAA finals in you know, probably end of April, beginning of May. And we won the national championship last year, so we're trying to repeat too. And we've won 9 national championships in hockey. So there's only one other school. I think University of Michigan has 9 too. So if we can do it again this year, we'd be the only one with 10 national championships. And it'd be nice to see that happen. So anyway, got a gentleman crossed the border up in Tennessee in Knoxville. His name is Mr. Derrick Furlow. He's a jack of all trades, you know, athlete, author, business coach, speaker. He does it all. So Derrick, say hello from Knoxville.
How you doing, Dave? How's everybody doing today?
Hey, yeah, we appreciate you finding the time and you know, to be on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Anyway, this is how it works. You're gonna tell us your story, where you grew up, you know, brothers, sisters, what sports you played, and how you ended up what you're doing today. So, with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks for having me first off. And my story is pretty simple. I grew up being raised by a single mom in Southwest Atlanta, raising 3 kids. Drugs around me, violence around me, living in poverty with people trying to make the best of what they had with what they got. And in that time frame, my mom did what she needed to do to put us in the best position to not become a product in our environment and to win. So at a young age, that required moving around a lot and getting a chance to make friends really fast, because every other year or so we might be going to a different school. And at a young age, I knew I wanted more out of life. I just wasn't sure how to get it or what more looked like. But I did learn at an early age the difference between needs and wants, and the difference between just priorities, because there was a lot of times where I would go check the mailbox and my mom would have to make that decision of, does she pay the light bill or does she make sure we eat? So it was a lot of candlelight dinners, but not on the romantic side, but out of the necessity side. So at a young age, I learned the difference between needs and wants. And some years we had Christmas, and some years Christmas didn't come until tax season came around. And back in the day, we used what they call layaway. They don't have it anymore. I think they use credit cards now. You can buy it even though you don't have the money for it. But
credit card, yeah.
That's it.
I remember layaway.
That's it.
I'm gonna lay it away. Yeah, gotta wait 4 or 5 months to get it, but I know it's there.
That's it. That's
sold out.
That's it. That's the name of the game. So I was fortunate because my Christmas didn't come in December 25th. It normally came around tax time. So honestly, I don't know why we called it layaway. We should have called it no way, because there was no way we was going to get that without tax, without income taxes coming back in. So just the struggle of being raised by a single parent, finally knowing I wanted more. We moved out of the inner city of Atlanta down to Griffin, Georgia, and life tend to change for the better because my mom met what's today her husband, and she had help. She had 3 kids. He had 3 kids. We actually became like the modern day Brady Bunch.
Nice.
And that's when the opportunity was presented for me to finally play organized sports, because when we was growing up in Southwest Atlanta, I couldn't play organized sports, so I played outside in the parking lot. And I knew I was good, but it was just playing parking lot football. But when I had a chance to play organized sports, I knew that sports could actually be the vehicle to change my family's life. And that's when I started to take sports serious. And that was the variable for me, because I got a little bit older, made it to high school, and people started telling me that I was good. And I wanted that to be the vehicle to change my family's life, because initially, I only seen a couple of ways to do it. You either was rapping or you was selling drugs, and I wasn't good at rapping, and I definitely didn't like the police chasing you and you going to jail. So it really was no other option for me. So sports became that vehicle, and then while we were there, my stepdad was fortunate enough to get a raise and a promotion. So this came with another move, but this wasn't a move from Atlanta to Griffin. This move moved us out the state to Southwest Arkansas, to CrossFit Arkansas. Dave, you ever been to Arkansas?
I've been through it. Yes.
Exactly. That was smart. You went through it. You kept going, because where I was at, it ain't much there. I was in the southeast corner in CrossFit between 2 paper mills. And if it rained or if the wind blew funny, man, it smelled real bad. So getting there is when I finally decided to take hold of my own life. I was frustrated, mad, and angry that we moved, but I realized that my parents were doing the best they could with what they had. And if it was things would change, it was up to me to control my own destiny, control my own future. So that's when I came up with my first plan. I call it the Get Out of Arkansas plan. And I was going to get me a full ride scholarship back to Georgia. So that was the name of the game. Get you a full ride scholarship. You can get back to Georgia. How do you go about getting a full ride scholarship? I had seen one guy who already had a full ride scholarship to the University of Arkansas as a sophomore. His name was Darren McFadden. So I said, okay, let me reverse engineer.
Raider.
That's it. Let me reverse engineer what he had done at that point in time, because he was in the same grade. And I figured, hey, for one, I got to get the school some attention so we can get put on the radar. So we need to win the state championship. Well, if I take us to the state championship, I need to rush for 2,200 yards and 20 touchdowns, which should get me some individual attention, which if we take care of all that, by default, I should have me a full ride scholarship. I had seen it already happen. So I went to work sophomore year. Didn't necessarily go how I wanted to go. So Get Out of Arkansas plan carried over to year 2. And at this point, had more control of playing time, and started the season 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, first time in school history. Sure enough, went 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, 9-0, 10-0, first time school finished the season undefeated. And then we got 3 rounds of the playoffs, 1 game to the state championship. So we got 4 games. I'm 4 games away to this Get Out of Arkansas plan being executed at the highest level, my first plan I ever made in my life. So first game, tough team. We ended up getting the W and right before the game ended. Second game, we pretty much handled business. So now I'm 2 games into this 4-game stretch of Getting Out of Arkansas. And then we play this third team, pretty much the conference championship before the state championship. And they were smart. They were really smart. They were in Bologna and ain't much out there whatsoever. So they let the grass grow and pretty much wet the field. And it's about 12 degrees. And we got out there and we couldn't run for nothing because it was all mud. And the game ended up being 7-0 until about the third quarter. They scored again, 14-0. We finally scored 14-7. They end up going up 21-7. We lose the game. And I'm frustrated. I'm angry and disappointed because the Get Out of Arkansas plan was 1 game away from working. And I'm mad. But little did I know, we were on the map. So we started getting recognition. People started to call, had a chance to go to visits. Some unofficials had a chance to go to camps. So the exposure actually happened, but my job wasn't done. So I said, okay, we this close. So Get Out of Arkansas playing year 3, it's got to work. So that summer, I think I went to 7 different camps and visited about 6 different schools. In one particular school, they wanted the top guys in the state to come, which was the University of Arkansas. So I knew I didn't plan on going there, but learning, recruiting, and being around the best players was the name of the game, and getting a chance to compete. That was the name of the game. So I ended up going to that particular camp. And as we got ready to wrap up camp, we were doing some ball drills, and I jumped for this ball, come down, kind of funny, don't think much about it. On that ride home, my knee ended up swelling up. So kind of freaked me out just a little bit. I ended up going to the doctor. They said, no worries, you just tore your meniscus. You need to get this scope. You'll have to rest for about 3 weeks. And then you'll be good to go. Well, the season's right around the corner. So we came up with a game plan, get my meniscus scope. I missed the first 3 non-conference games, come back by the time conference play start. We'll pick up where we left off and get this Get Out of Arkansas plan back in full effect. So I ended up going down to Louisiana to have surgery. And as I'm getting rolled out the operating room, I remember feeling this brace on my left leg. And as I came to, the doctor was to my right. I was still sedated, but I was conscious enough to say, hey, doc, what's this brace? And at that moment there, Dave, he said some words that changed the trajectory of my life forever. He said that brace is for your ACL.
LCL, yeah. I've had both my ACLs replaced, so I totally, it's a little wispy little thing in between your knee. For those of you who don't know it, you basically hold your knee in place going back and forwards, and it's a little wispy thing. But when you have ACL surgery, it's like we're on construction. So it's like basically doing drywall, you cut a hole in there, you take the rubber band out, you put a new one in, 2 screws, boom. The big stuff is the rehab, trying to get rehab. Surgery's not bad. It's the rehab.
Right. So I went from supposed to be out 3 weeks to a whole year. So I went in and came out with a surgery I wasn't even supposed to have. So at that moment there, to get out of Arkansas playing crash burn, I'm frustrated, angry, upset, because that wasn't on my radar. That wasn't the reason why I was there. But when I came out, I was awakened to the fact that I had ACL surgery. So I'm frustrated, mad at the world. And as time came, game 3 came, game 4 come, game 5 come, I don't come back. And the word slowly gets out that he's out for the season. He had ACL surgery. So the interest I had gained, those visits I had went on, those coaches I had spoke to, slowly went down, 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 back to 0. So at this point, I became irrelevant on the football landscape, and all that work I had put in was just took away from me, and I was obsolete. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And it's like working your life for these dreams, these goals, and you're finally getting right there, and it's ripped away from you for something that you didn't even do, that you didn't have control of. So at that moment there, I wasn't sure what was next for my life. I knew I was frustrated, I was mad, and I didn't want to be stuck in Arkansas. So I just decided, you know what? I'm just going to rehab 3 times a day. The only thing I can do is work. And I just put all that energy and that frustration into rehabbing. So I was rehabbing 3 times a day, and end up getting my knee infected because I was rehabbing too fast.
Right.
So that forced me to slow down. And I remember one particular day, I'm laying on the bed at the house, and I'm frustrated, I'm crying, and I'm mad. I'm doing this rehab. And I was asking, why me, Lord, why me? And I phrase that when I tell a lot of people, when you ask why me, you better be careful, because you never know what answer you're going to get. And as I was sitting there by myself, I heard like this audible saying, look, I gave you that stage for the glorification of my kingdom, and you was using it for your own selfish ambitions, reasons, and goals. So I had to take it away from you to get your attention. And it was the strangest thing. I didn't know what was next for me, but I did know if I ever got a stage again, I knew it was bigger than me, and I needed to do something not just for my own selfish goals and reasons. So hearing that, wasn't sure what was next. I decided I was going to run track because that was the only sport that was left. So I get back, I'm running track. And the cool thing about track season is you play against a lot of guys that you had played against in football. So a lot of those guys knew what I was capable of, but hadn't seen me because I had been hurt. So they expected me to just be guns a-blazing, full speed back. And I really wasn't. But in that time frame, spring started for college football. And I got this letter in the mail from a place I never visited. I actually watched them play once, and I was actually rooting against the team they was playing. And it was from the University of Tennessee, invited me to come up to the spring game. No clue, never visited, never applied, none of this stuff. And I felt like it was my second chance or my gift from God of saying, hey, here's this opportunity I'm going to give you. what are you going to do with it? So with that being said, I showed it to my mom. She's like, you want to go on a visit? I said, absolutely. So we come to the University of Tennessee. I had a chance to meet the players, meet the coaches. And after the spring game, I had a chance to go in the meeting room and meet with Coach Foreman, Coach Slade, and Coach Caldwell. And as I walk in, first thing I thought was, how'd you guys know about me? And they said, well, you were actually on film against two guys that are already coming here that we were recruiting. So we knew the type of player you were. And honestly, we'd love to have you here. Now, we see that you're injured, and we can't just say we're going to give you a scholarship with you being injured. But if you're rehab and you come and you heal, we got a full ride scholarship waiting on you. At that point right there, David, I had no other options. My back was against the wall. I said, sign me up. Literally, I graduated in May. I was enrolled at the University of Tennessee 9 months after having ACL surgery. Going into my first day of camp. Chip on my shoulder, came in with the #1 recruiting class in the country with something to prove, because I was mad that things didn't go how I thought it was going to go. And I had to take some alternative options to get to where I wanted to be. And at this point, I had some academic funding. My mom did what she could to help me get some loans. So I had stuff that was not even on my radar that I had to figure out how to make it work until this thing worked out. So now I'm coming in with the mindset, I got to prove it to them that I'm back. And then I got to prove to myself that I belong here, because it was there, but it never was solidified through that scholarship. So that's what kept me hungry, kept me driving. So I get there, make it to my first camp, and I come out of camp and I go to coach. I say, hey, coach, came in with the #1 recruiting class in the country, made it to my first camp. Can I get my full ride scholarship? Now I've been here 3 months at this point. Well, actually 2 months. So of course I said to the coach, and they look at me and they laugh, and I'm like, no. So I say, okay, maybe that was a little premature. So season goes on. Next season comes around, camp starts. I get bigger, I get stronger, I get faster. I knew my alignments, I knew my assignments, knew my reads, knew my techniques. Make it through camp. I go back to coach. I'm like, look, hey, coach, I know my alignments, know my assignments, I know my reads, I know my techniques. I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm faster. Can I get my full ride scholarship to the University of Tennessee? And at this point, they say no again. So at this point, I'm a little frustrated, because I'm like, I'm good. I'm competing at a high level. I'm beating these guys. Why am I not getting what I'm supposed to be getting? So now I'm starting to get frustrated, thinking about transferring, seeing, okay, I did better than this guy.
This is before the portal, so it wasn't easy.
Yeah, way before the portal.
Yeah,
this idea of transferring, if I would have transferred, only 20 of my credits would have transferred with me. And then you had to sit out a year.
Yeah, so I was going to say, you got to sit out a year.
When I did that math, it didn't make sense. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I got to figure something out. But the season goes on, and a good friend of mine during that season by the name of Inky Johnson gets hurt. And we had a chance to go visit Inky in the hospital. And this is where things kind of shifted, because we walk into the hospital room. I'm about 4 guys behind Coach Slade, who's in the front. And as we walk in, Coach said, Ink, how you feeling? And Ink said, hey, I'm at peace. Well, if y'all don't know Inky ended up going for a tackle in the game and ended up breaking some and severing some ligaments, veins, tendons, the whole nine that connect your arm to your spinal cord. So he said, I'm at peace. And it hit me like a ton of bricks when he said that, because his arm was paralyzed. He was never going to play this game again. And he almost lost his life. And I was mad, upset, frustrated, angry about a scholarship. Not my life, not my arm, but a scholarship. So when he said that, it put things in perspective, and it hit me for the second time. In the middle of my mess, I was missing a message. I was focused on my own personal, selfish ambitions, reasons, and goals again, and I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, so I wasn't getting what I was supposed to be getting. I was too busy focusing on my outcome and what I wanted. So at that moment there, that's when it hit me, man, you got to stop being so selfish, focusing on what you want and be a servant and add more value to the people around you. So that's when I changed it up, man. I stopped worrying about me, started working on being a better teammate, being a better player, a better student, a better son, being a better mentor for my younger teammates. And it was the craziest thing. As I started adding more value and being a better teammate, by the time the season ended and came back around, I didn't have to go to coach and ask for a full ride scholarship to the University of Tennessee. They had one for me. So that was one of probably the biggest blessings in disguise. And I learned a lot of things from that earlier injury from high school to having to take the harder road. But I was prepared for that harder road based off the young Derrick growing up in the inner city of Atlanta and nothing coming easy to me. So it was one of those things. I believe that everything that we're growing through is preparing us for where we're going to. A lot of time we're just so caught up in the middle of our mess, we miss the message. and the lesson that we're supposed to learn and take out of that mess and apply it to make us better and to help the people around us. So it took twice for me to finally get it. But once I got it, that was the biggest blessing in disguise and allowed me to get to where I am today.
When I blew my first ACL out, I blew it out in '99, the year my son was born, and I was never on an undefeated. I did playing hockey. A guy pulled me back. My skate was stuck in the ice and pulled me back, and I remember falling back, looking at the ceiling of the rink, and I heard the pop. Everybody says you hear the pop, and so I make it back to the bench. My knee's wobbling. So next day I wake up, it's about the size of a cantaloupe. And, I told my wife, I'm like, look, my ACL is probably blown, but I'm playing next week. And I was never on an undefeated team. I played in the AAA team here locally. It was basically ex-college guys like me. And I never was on. I want to hoist the cup. And my wife was like, no big deal, because my son was going to be born in July. I blew my knee out in April. So I was going to be in rehab. And I wasn't going to do anything for a year. But the biggest thing was when I had surgery in April, and you talked about working hard, coming back early. That year in December, I was at the top of Vail in Colorado skiing, and I had a brace on, and I remember it took me about a month to get my knee stretched out where I could make the bicycle go all the way around. Yep. When I made it around, they were all like, hey, the hockey player made it up, man, he made it around, in the gym. At the rehab place, but I worked my tail off, man, because I was like, I am coming back. I plan on, getting back on the rink. And so fast forward to let's see, that was 39 then. So then in 2012, I was 2 weeks before my black belt test. And, to be a black belt takes about 3 years, depending on what kind of school. I took Taekwondo. So I had to catch a flight down to Miami to look at some properties for one of our events, and they were like, "Hey, Mr. Corson, you want to do one more jump side kick?" And I looked at my watch. Yeah, put up the bag. So they put up the bag. I go over, jump over the bag, boom, break the board, come down. Knee gives out. Hear the pop. Fell down, and the whole place went dead silent. They all came running over me, like, "Get me up, get me up!" And sure enough, I had already blown out the other ACL, so I kind of knew what was up. So I got in my car, I'm driving down to the airport, and ACLs really don't hurt when they don't hurt. You just can't, if it wobbles, something's wrong. So I called my wife. I'm like, I think I really screwed up my leg. And so I flew down to Miami. I get to the hotel. I said, could you get me a bag of ice? So same thing. Next morning, knee's about the size of a cantaloupe. Call my doctor, and he goes, hey, come back. So I come back. They drain my knee. 2 weeks later, I go get the MRI. And brought the disc cone, popped it in there. You could see little whiffs, it was broken. And so I knew the routine. And but I was so close to take my black belt test. So I had the surgery, and I did the rehab at the house because I'd already done it all right. But I went once a month into the rehab place to get measured, just to make sure that I was, on par. Right. I'll tell you, 39 to like early 50s, that 10 or 12, 13-year difference in age, man. I'm hanging 6 months. I'm hanging my leg off the side of the bed. And I told my wife, I'm like, my leg is not getting straight. I cannot get this leg freaking straight. And I call my doctor. I'm like, I can't get my leg straight. And he's like, dude, man, you're not 20 anymore. So that took, normally ACLs, in my opinion, they take about 1.5 years to 2 years to really, really feel good, where you can kneel on it and, all that stuff. And I had the patella in the one, and I had my hamstring in the other. I didn't go the cadaver route. And but it's all about the rehab. But the bummer was, listen, your story's not, listen, I just blew mine out, and I was bummed out because I couldn't get my black belt test. But when I went back out, I got back on the mat, maybe 8 months later, I got back on the mat, trained for 3 months, and I took my test and I passed. And so I climbed the mountain, I got to the summit, but in Taekwondo, it's never over. You're always learning. You can always go an up, a degree. So but the biggest thing was mindset, because I get that whole thing of you want it now. And then, like, I had my black belt test 2 weeks. I was going to take my test in there after 2.5, 3 years of working my tail off. Now I got to wait a whole nother year. and I don't even know if I'm going to come back, because I'm 51, 52 or whatever it was. And, and I was in really good shape. You know what the amazing thing is? You have surgery. For those of you who haven't out there, if you don't know what atrophy is, okay, you could be you could have tree trunks as an athlete and leg, in your legs, or if you have shoulder surgery, whatever. But if you don't, after surgery for a couple of days, if you don't move it, I mean, I could barely lift my leg up. I mean, I lost all the muscle. I mean, atrophy was the most amazing thing. I had never had it happen to me. And I broke my fingers, my nose was broken a bunch of times. I mean, I'm like Captain Lego. I mean, I've gotten screws all over. And but it really was mindset was, trying to come back. And I knew that I wanted to get my black belt. And so I did the rehab, and then I still wear my braces though. In the old man's league, or if I'm on the ice at the frozen pond, I'm wearing the braces. Just like the linemen now, that even though they don't know that happen with their legs, man, they're prepared for it. So, but all that, what you've gone through. Talk about after your football, how you made the transition to what you're doing today, and how what you learned, busting your ACL, having to come out, seeing Inky, at peace in the hospital, how that helped you to where you are today.
Well, I believe as an athlete that transition, as people, I believe is in a couple of phases of life, either in transition, just came out of a transition, or a transition is on its way. So by the time I made it to the University of Tennessee, and I spent that first year of my life not as an athlete due to an injury, something that was not of my choosing, I had my first athletic death in that idea of coping and handling who I was outside of being an athlete, who I was outside of what I did. So by the time I got to the University of Tennessee, I had that experience once before, but when I was there, I seen a lot of guys that came before me leave to go to the league and all of a sudden come back, whether it was injury, got cut, didn't make the team, whatever it was. And I'm like, all right, you left and you came back. Why did you come back? And half of the time you didn't go to class where you was here the first time. So you didn't come back because you wanted to go to school. You came back because it was safe and you wasn't sure what was next or what to do outside of your sport. So at that point, that was called a clue. And I realized, okay, I done been hurt once. That guy was really, really good. If it didn't work out for him, I thought he should make it in the league. What if it don't work out for me? So that's when I started to say, okay, what is the biggest benefits of being an athlete? We got relationships that we can tap into. All these people want to hang around us that may have skill sets or knowledge that we don't have. How do I not just affiliate myself with my teammates and use this campus of 26,000 people to network and get engaged in different circles of life? Because these people are going to leave and become other things outside of trying to be an athlete. So I started to just use my people skills that I learned when I was a kid, having to meet friends really, really fast, because I knew I was going to be going to another school in about a year or so. It's funny, when you're young, they call it making friends. When you get older, they call it networking. So I started to take those skill sets and just make friends outside of my bubble. And then I started to just take inventory on those transferable skills that you have as an athlete and start to see how can they be applied somewhere else. So by the time it came to my senior year, I hurt my shoulder my senior year. Then I hurt it again doing the NFL Combine and our pro day. And at that point, let's say you're going to have shoulder surgery. Me going through surgery once before, knowing the rehab time and knowing what I had.
Shoulder surgery is much worse than knee surgery.
I already knew that. I had seen it already. So at that point, that's when I was like, nah, I'm good. So I'm done. I do these football camps across the country for about 3 months, and then they're done. And I realized I got to get a job. So at that point, I said, okay, what industry can I get into that's going to allow me to change my family's life? Just like football would allow me to change my family's life with that type of income. So I only seen two from the people I had been associated with and been around was entrepreneurship and sales. So I said, okay, well, I need to go get in sales. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I was down with some guys that they let me shadow for a day. And that first particular day, I seen this guy, he was with this lady, and she spent $60,000 with him, and she was happy about it. At that moment right there, I said, look, bro, where I'm from, nobody got 60,000, especially not 60,000 to spend in a 2-hour setting and be happy about it. So whatever you're doing is legal. I need to figure out how to do it. So that's when I jumped into sales. And the first 3 months, it was ignorance on fire. I didn't know what I didn't know, and it was working out. I was getting people down. They were selling something. I was making money. Well, they didn't tell me that come December and after Christmas, you got slow season. And then they didn't tell me about chargebacks or cancellations. If somebody cancels, you get charged back. And I definitely didn't know about taxes. So at this point, it's getting the slow season. I'm starting to help out my mom at home. My sister had a situation. I'm trying to help out. Well, I'm promising money that I know is coming in. And then all of a sudden I start getting chargebacks, cancellations, and then taxes. So the money that I thought was coming don't show up. And now it's slower. So I'm not getting as many opportunities. And that's when life hit and I started to struggle. And I remember asking myself, okay, what made you elite at sports? And I know it was my ability to learn, my ability to prepare, my ability to take those things that we did in film study and make myself better day in and day out. So by the time we got to game day, I could deliver at a high level, and it wasn't trying to figure it out on game day. It was just executing at a high level on game day. So I took that learning process. I call it the transition formula now. T plus C plus C equals ST. That's takeaway, correlate, carryover equals a successful transition. I started to take away all those intangible transferable skills that I had learned from sports and say, okay, good, bad, ugly. What can I take away from the sports game? All right, now that I know those takeaways, to see how do those things carry over or correlate to what I'm doing right now? How do they correlate to sales? How can I learn the sales stuff just like I learned football? And then once I realized how they correlated, the next thing I had to figure out was how can I carry them over and apply them? And I was able to figure out how to carry them over and apply them. And sure enough, by the time that slow season started to come to an end, I had popped and figured it out and became one of the top reps. So I said, okay, was it just me? So I duplicated that same system with two other guys that I didn't play sports with. They just played it. One played golf, one played basketball. And we became one of the youngest sales team producing at the highest level. And that's when it hit me. Everything that you learn as an athlete is designed to help you in another phase of your life, in another phase of business, if you understand what those things are and if you're able to take those things away outside of that particular industry, outside of that particular sport, and figure out how it correlates and how to carry it over. So that made me have this passion and this mission of helping athletes transition. And that's when a lot of these things became born within me over a more purposeful life, being able to help impact, inspire, and empower athletes, but to show them how to take those intangible transferable skills they learn from sports, how to correlate them and carry them over to another phase of life. So that's what happened. I ended up selling for that company, being one of the top presenters for that company. And then I was learning how to present in front of people. I was learning how to help people. I was learning how to build groups and sales teams. So it was training me while I was getting paid. So finally, after 7 years of doing that, I said, well, why don't I just help more athletes? So I walked away, wrote a book, gave all the information that I could to all these athletes. The book is called What's Next? How to Transition Like a Champion. And I wanted to help athletes transition. But sure enough, I released the book and I said, okay, I'm going to go speak and talk to people and present just like I've been doing for this company. So I took that same skill set, figured out how I correlated to what I wanted to do next, and then carried it over. Once I started doing it, though, I realized there was another problem. Universities, institutions didn't necessarily care when you were done playing for them. They were not on the hook for your well-being or your success after college, because you're not playing, you're not eligible. It doesn't matter to them. So I was early. So I found myself speaking to sales teams, other organizations, churches, nonprofits, and other different businesses. So I'm learning these different entities and learning how to speak to other groups. So that's how it started. And then sure enough, it took into the pandemic, into 2020, where schools did not have access to the athletes on campus. And the athletes were no longer eligible. Some of them got an extra year. Some of them wasn't going to get scholarships because some people didn't leave. Now, all of a sudden, they started to see these problems with athletes transitioning. And all of a sudden, some athletes developing mental health issues because they're not going to get a scholarship coming out of high school because there's no scholarships available. So all this started to happen. And all of a sudden, my programs became relevant. So now, all of a sudden, the transition to what's next, how to transition like a champion became relevant. But one of the chapters is about identity. I realized I spoke to prisons, to veterans, sales teams, sales leadership teams, but it was uniquely designed for athletes, but a lot of that stuff correlates. But once after the pandemic, all of a sudden, the identity crisis of athletes having to not, because the transition don't work out for them, it came to an end by choice or by force. Well, mental health becomes a topic of conversation. Now, it was already an issue. We just didn't have a word for it or didn't talk about it. Well, I had experienced that already in high school the first time around, but I coped and made it through it and persevered and had a chance to overcome it. Well, when I had that book, I didn't realize I was coaching someone, talking on some of those hot buttons and hot points. Well, the book gets put in the hands of some mental health clinicians, and they wanted to help two audiences that were underserved, veterans and athletes. And once the book got in their hands, they reached out to me. And all of a sudden now, this company's finna go public. They want me to actually be the one who brings athletes to the table, create this athletic advisory board. Now we're creating programming for athletes in the mental health space, but it comes down to that transition. So that's what got me into that space. And then sure enough, after a year of that, NIL rolls around, name, image, and likeness. Athletes can get paid for the name, image, and likeness. Well, you just add another variable, but it all comes back down to the athlete and how they can cope or handle different things. And now they're getting access to money at an earlier stage with all this pressure to perform, all this pressure to go to class, all the issues they already had at home. And then they're gonna get paid or have an opportunity to get paid. And some people may make more money than them. Some people might not be getting paid any money. Another level of mental health thought processes that athletes are going through. So I say, you know what? I've seen agencies doing work, but most of the agents that were doing the work were never former athletes. So I said, well, let's start our own for the athlete by the athlete. We understand what we wish we would have had, what we thought we should have could have did better. So let's create a sports agency called SLB The Agency, and only former athletes can be agents to represent these current student athletes. And that was the model we put together. So now we can bring them to opportunities that's truly going to be beneficial to them from the areas that we wish we would have had those opportunities too, and really help them take advantage of the relationships. Because most of the time as an athlete, you don't think outside your bubble because you're just thinking about that sport and going to that next level. And you get a chance to be around a lot of influential people who can mentor you, who can help guide you, who you probably don't want to hang out with because you got this ego and think you're cool, and they can actually be adding a lot of value to you as you make them look really cool because you're around in the box with them or you're around them at their job or something like that. So giving them the proper perspective of how to maximize this time. And we niche that NIL programming with helping them get relationships or deals with mental health clinics. Because if we can help debunk the stigma, help give them a safe place. So at some point in time, when they do go through that transition, if they're having issues, they understand that they have a safe place for people that they know and trust can help give them resources. And then it makes it okay, thirdly, for the everyday individual who look up to the athletes and say, hey, this athlete is getting his mental health treated and he's okay with it. It's okay for me to go get mine treated and checked on as well. So we wanted to help make it bigger than just the athlete, bigger than just myself. And that was kind of how we created the agency. So all the things that I was growing through was preparing me for now. I was just fortunate enough that I didn't miss my message in the middle of my mess. I seen the writing on the wall. I seen the bullet points. I seen the takeaways. I was aware of them, and I was able to take them away, correlate them to where I was at the present time, and figure out how to carry it over. And then I was able to take them away, correlate it to where I wanted to go in the future, and figure out how to carry over and apply it. So that's what's gotten me to today, the journey, the building blocks and the stepping stones of not feeling like I gave all this energy and effort to the game, and then it didn't work out how I thought it was going to work out. It's just I gave all the energy and effort to the game. That vehicle got me to a certain point in life, and then it was time for me to get in another vehicle. But everything I had took from that vehicle was able to help me fast track the next phase. I call it your unfair advantage. I believe we all have one. We all go through things in life, good, bad, ugly, whatever you want to call it. What can we take away from those lessons? And how do we correlate those lessons to where we are right now and where we want to go? And then how do we carry those lessons over to be a blessing to ourselves and a blessing to those around us? And if we do those things well, the T plus C, we'll have a ST, a successful transition in anything that we do. So that's what we've been working on doing, and that's the journey.
Hey, I just did this. I became a certified digital marketer. It was a 12-week boot camp. I have a digital magazine, so I've been a publisher forever. The roller coaster came in, the shutdown. I had to make some serious decisions. We went digital. Now I'm a completely different company. And I thought I knew a lot, but the biggest thing that they talked about was mindset, the journey. And it really hit home. And get rid of negative people. If people that you're dealing with, they're negative or they're doggy downers, they're poo-pooers, cut them loose. You don't need it. Timing is of the essence. There's so much time in a day, and negativity's, it's cancerous. It's just bad stuff. It's like having a guy that's just a bummer in the locker room. I don't care what it is. If you got that one negative guy in there, it can ruin everything for the whole team. And that's why I always like talking to sports guys, because they get the mindset. You want to win, but you're not going to win all the games. If you're undefeated, great, but that rarely happens. That's a very, very small percentage of teams that go undefeated. But losing it's so important to be able to become a business person. And let me tell you, it's brutal out there. I mean, it is competitive being a business person. So if you can handle getting, shellacked on the field or whatever sport that you were playing, and you have thick skin and you can go out and do battle in the business field, but you have to keep your mind, I mean, I'm in sales too. So I know that I'm going to get no's all day long, but it's a numbers game. The more no's I get, I know that there's going to be some yeses in there. I mean, right now, let's be honest, the economy isn't that great. And, it is what it is as we start 2023. And, sales are very, very tough. It just is. And you've got to figure out a way to keep yourself positive, to get up every day and go do it. And I've been an entrepreneur since 2001 when I went out on my own. And everybody's telling me, don't do it, don't do it. And here I am, still standing today. But I went through the crash in 08. I went through the internet bubble. Now I just went through this freaking roller coaster over the last 2 years. I was working out of the house, but I missed seeing all my buds, and I was on the road. I'm a million miler on Delta, but that whole thing, I looked at it as I learned more about myself over the last 2.5 years than I think I learned my entire life. I'll be 60 this year, and and I'm still in the field. I told my wife, I said, look, Gordie Howe played hockey till he was 63. As long as I can run up and down the field, listen, I've scored many goals. I don't care if I'm only looking for so many shifts, and I'm a happy camper. It's like a good workout for me, at the end of the week. And but that your story is awesome. I mean, single mom, early child, friends, moving, kind of like being in a military family, that same gig where you get, transferred, rotated around, and then having the injury, coming back, having the obstacles, and having that epiphany of, yeah. And then you're Inky, right?
Yeah.
See, I think that was that was probably one of the biggest turning points in what I just heard, and like I said, I've had both my ACLs done. I had another guy on that wrote a book about ACL surgery, and he talked about the mental anguish that people go through and they don't realize it. And it's not just the surgery, it's the rehab, it's the mental, they've trained their whole lives to be a professional athlete, and all of a sudden the ACL gets done. And and listen, in the old days, I was in school out west at DU in the 80s. So knee surgery, if you had an ACL done, you had the big scar all the way up your leg. Okay. It's not the way that you do it now with 2 little holes and, microscopic. You had a scar going zipper all the way up your leg. So, and I saw some of my buds that were skiers that blew their knees out. And, some of these doctors, it was amazing what they did back then, but what they do now, completely different, And so, but even me as a coach, I would, and I coached my kid all the way through, high school and stuff, but then I coached after he went on his way. And I liked being coach where I didn't have any skin in the game. I didn't have my kid on the team or anything else. And I used to tell all these kids, I'm like, the parents, I'm like, look, it's high school. Only the best players play. We're here to win. Okay. I got hired to be and put the ball in the net. I'm not your friend. I'm here to win games. That's what I'm here to do. But I'm also going to teach you a lot of things. Okay. Because I look at sports just like I do battle every day with my own company. So, everything that you've done, I've done 10 times over. So you can either listen to me or not, but you will practice is perfection. You will play as you practice. You practice correctly, you will perform on Saturday or Friday night or whatever it might be. Same goes in business. You're gonna, if you practice the best way you can, just like speaking, you'll accomplish it, but you always have to be improving. You always have to be, doing things. Just like my background, it's new this year. I told my wife, I do a different background. What am I gonna do? Okay, this is what I'm gonna do, because sometimes keep it simple. I'm not gonna have everything going all over the place like I did last year. So actually, this is one of my jerseys. I think this was one of my jerseys that I went undefeated on. So anyway, I still have that picture of me holding the cup up, and then next week I got cut, went under the knife. The second time when I had it done, the doctor said, you had some arthritis in there. I'm like, yeah, I probably had some other stuff. So, I think I was in there for about 2.5 hours. Normally, ACL hour and a half.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, he had some arthritis in there and so forth. What's funny is, you told me you were track. When I went to prep school, I was a hockey player. I didn't even pick up a lacrosse stick until I was a sophomore. I wanted to just play hockey. I went to hockey school every summer, just like you went to camps. And but I didn't play football. I played in junior high, but I didn't want to play football when I went into high, because I didn't want to get hurt. So I ran cross country, and I ran the hurdles, and I was a sprinter my freshman year. And then a couple of my buds, they said, hey, and so I practiced all summer, and I came back, so I'm gonna play lacrosse. I like track. If you guys need me, I'll do a relay or whatever if it's at home, but I'm gonna pick up a lacrosse stick. And then I actually ended up being a better lacrosse player than I was a hockey player. And but that's all I wanted to do, was be a professional hockey player. That's what I wanted to do. I went to Canada every summer to hockey school. My first year on skates, I sat on the bench, and I told my parents I got this hockey digest. And I said, okay, I want to go to this place right here outside of Toronto. It's called the Hockey Ranch. And I went up there for a month, 4 hours of hockey and 4 hours of horseback. I lived on a ranch, shoveled, cleaned the stalls, and you were basically on a horse ranch, but you also played hockey too. I don't even know if the place even exists anymore. Toronto is just like Atlanta. It's been urban sprawl. So, but I look back at all that stuff, and everything that I did in all those different sports, I took something from all my coaches. The way that I didn't want to be coached, the way that I wanted to coach, the way that I wanted to treat people, the way I wanted to be treated, and that there's nothing wrong with losing, because you got to lose to learn how to win. And your story, very inspirational, man. I mean, I didn't know this whole gig. Listen, we're LinkedIn. Yeah, you have athletes, but the ACL thing. For those of you out there, if you have your ACL done, you're in the club. Not everybody has ACL surgery. I got both of them done. So it's an amazing thing to go through. But the best thing is that when you do make it back, even though you didn't make it into the big boys league, either did I. But look, here I am. I'm still competing. I compete every day. Even if I even sold my business, I still could not sit around and do nothing. I'd have to do something. I'm going to work probably till the day I die, whenever that is. I just can't just sit around. I got to do something. I think I got to offer something to society, whether it's whatever it might be. So, you're right on there. So if you wanted to leave one positive thought besides your acronym for your company, what would it be if you wanted to leave our audience with a positive thought or phrase on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk? What would it be?
I tell them to accept nothing, defy everything, and attack life.
Yeah, I like it, man. Get her done. I had my business page yesterday, and I had a picture of James Bond, and he goes, "I don't stop until I'm, I don't stop. I don't stop until I'm done." And it just hit home. So I'm in this group, and we all post, and we all like it, and people are like, "Oh, that was really cool. Where'd you find that?" I'm like, I like putting up. I put up sports stuff. What Vince Lombardi. All. I just think that as an athlete, you probably know more than the average Joe out there, because you learn about sportsmanship, first, being a professional, winning and losing, being on time, being hydrated, not being late to practice, got to get good grades, all those things if you want to succeed.
You're right. So that's funny. In one of my programs, I talk about 10,000 hours. So they say it takes 10,000 hours to become a professional. Well, I take it a step back and say, well, look, as an athlete, You get 10,000 hours to practice your emotional intelligence, 10,000 hours to practice winning, 10,000 hours to practice how you're gonna handle losing, 10,000 hours to practice the ups, the downs, the ebbs, the flows, 10,000 hours to practice your character, to build your character, 10,000 hours to get your mindset right. You get so many of those things that most people graduate, get a job, and that's their first time. It's real life already. It's make or break. So when adversity hits or split second decisions got to be made, critical crunch time situations, as an athlete, you practice that on a regular basis, and then you do it in the game, and then you get a chance to adjust and thought process. You have a thought process. Some people get into the workforce. They've never had to make a split second decision. They don't understand how to handle losses in the stock market or losses on the job or get fired or get replaced. Just like a coach might come in and you get from starting to being benched. Like you get a chance to go through that earlier and more often. So you're equipped with more layers. So by the time you get to a work environment or a different environment outside of your sport, some of those people that never played the sport haven't had a chance to get those skill sets honed to equip themselves to how they're going to handle adversity, challenges, the ups, the downs, the ebbs, the flows. And that's your unfair advantage. So you might have didn't get that intern, but you got a lot of intangible, transferable skills that you got a lot of high reps at that make you a value add and that make you equipped to take in certain positions and certain roles because you've already done it. You just didn't realize you were doing it and that it was relevant to this market or to this industry because it was so normal in your sport to get 10,000 hours or critical decisions or thinking fast or making adjustments. Like you do that, you practice that, get a chance to do it over until you get it right. Everybody don't get that.
The other day, we post every day. I post every day on my business page, on my Facebook page and my business page. And anyway, I found this thing of Elon Musk. He says there's 168 hours in a week. Okay. You only work 40 hours. You sleep for, another 56 hours. You have about 58 hours left. Now you got some driving, you got some dinner or whatever, but you still leaves you with a ton of hours. What are you going to do with that? Okay. You can sit around, watch TV. You can sit around, play video games. Or are you gonna make something of it? And it hit home. I was like, because I'm working, my tail off, and I'm an entrepreneur, but time management is so crucial. You got to make the best use of your time because it goes quick. And I put it up there, and people are like, well, someone's commented and said, oh, but I have to do travel, I have to commute or whatever. But I'm like, well, listen. That's X amount of hours, a week. In Atlanta, Atlanta traffic. So, it could be 20 hours a week that you have to commute just because of traffic. But still, you have X amount of hours left. So, time management is crucial. I'm a construction project management. If you're in a retailer, that store is going to be open. They've got the circulars print. So if you're in construction, you've got to get everything done because if not, you're not going to get, your reputation is not going to be that great. And all you out there know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't care if it's a retail store, a hotel opening, a restaurant, everything is, it's backed up from the day that they do the circulars for the grand opening. So that's the way I kind of like, I'm on deadline every month for my magazine. I know that I got to get this done. And so anyway, awesome positive thought. If someone wanted to reach out to you, just to talk or maybe have you speak, for their company or so forth, how would they reach out to you, Derrick?
They could reach out Derrick, Derrick at Derrick, Derrick Furlow, FURLOW.com, or follow me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. So I'm available on most of those platforms, or even my YouTube channel, Derrick Furlow, as well.
All right. So listen, if you're having any mental issues, or you're just thinking that, you want someone to talk to, or you want to reach out to Derrick, he's on all those social media platforms, pretty easy to find him, and link in with him, hit his brain and, talk business, talk whatever, man. You want to talk ACLs? He can do it. Hey, so can I. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at davidc@ccr-mag.com. We'd love to have you be a subscriber. We had I think it was 29 million plus. We went up 1 million. I was 28 million in 2021. We had 29 million people hit our site in 2022. And hopefully this year we'll go over 30 million for the year. It's been an amazing ride over the last couple of years. I never thought of myself as being a digital guy, but I still have fun. If you're not having fun, you got to go do something else. Okay. If you don't like your job, you don't like the money you're making, make a change. Okay. Life's short. Okay. And if you got negative people, get rid of them. Go find people who are going to have fun, smile, have fun. And remember, you only have so many hours that, that are left. You got to make the best of it because life's short. You never know what's going to happen. All right. So with that said, Derrick, pleasure, man. Listen, you come to the ATL, man. We're going to have lunch. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Love to
Appreciate it.
shake your hand. And, hey, it's been a pleasure. And, all of you out there, we love you to also hit that like button. So, on YouTube for us here, we love to, have you, give us some props out there and any comments, listen, I take constructive criticism. I got thick skin. You can let me have it. So, any time of the day. So anyway, Derrick, say goodbye from Knoxville.
Man, y'all have a great one, Dave. Thanks for having me on, man. It's been a pleasure.
All right, and I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, just below the up by Lake Lanier, just below the Buford Dam. And everybody, Happy New Year. Have a great 2023. Stay positive. And before you know it, it's going to be the holidays again, man. 365 goes really quick, 24/7. Remember, it's only 168 hours in a week. So anyway, make the best of it. And all you out in the construction site, stay hydrated and be safe. All right. Derrick, thank you so much. And all of you out there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk Land, we will see you next time on another episode. Derrick, I can't wait to meet you, man. All right.
Pleasure. You too, my man.
All right,
Have a
man.
blessing.
See you.
Bye.